One of the features that set the Empress Phaser apart from anything else out there is the auto mode. This is a collection of intelligent modes that adapt to your playing. They change based on the envelope of the input signal, increasing or decreasing as the input signal gets louder or quieter, or they're triggered by sudden changes in the signal volume. The auto modes also feature rhythms and direct expression control. More on that later. When you switch the mode toggle over to auto mode, some of the knobs change function. These new controls are marked with inverted writing underneath the knob. All the other controls work the same as they would in tap or knob modes. Here's a quick rundown of the controls specific to the auto modes. The attack toggle switch will set how fast the auto mode will react to increases in volume or triggers. There are 3 settings: fast, medium, and slow. Fast will be almost an instant change, medium will be about 300 milliseconds, and slow about 1 second. The release knob sets how fast the auto mode will react to decreases in volume in envelope mode, or how long it takes to return to its starting value after a trigger in trigger mode. Because this is a knob, it is continuously variable between about 50 milliseconds and 930 milliseconds. The sensitivity knob controls how your pedal listens to the input signal when you're in auto mode. You can think of this as an input volume adjustment for the volume detection circuit. It allows you to adjust for different output volumes from different guitars and different styles of playing, or to achieve some interesting effects. In envelope modes, the red LED will light up when it's detecting maximum volume. Ideally, you would adjust the sensitivity knob so the red LED will only light up when you're playing your absolute loudest. This will ensure that you're using the full range of the parameter sweep. In trigger modes, the red LED will light up when your pedal is detecting a trigger. If you find the pedal is missing some triggers, increase the sensitivity. If you find it's triggering when it shouldn't be, then decrease the sensitivity. In auto mode, there are 8 submodes. Use the submode rotary switch to select how you would like the pedal to react to your playing. The submodes are divided into 2 main categories: envelope submodes and trigger submodes. There's also a rhythm submode and a direct control submode. We've included a reference chart on the front of the pedal to help you navigate quickly. Here's a rundown of the 8 submodes. First up are the envelope submodes. In the envelope submodes, the pedal tracks the input volume and moves a parameter to follow the changes in the input level. This is used in the first 4 submodes. Submode 1 is the envelope follower submode. In this submode, the phase shift follows the input volume. The center of the phase shift changes according to how loud you play. As your playing gets louder, the center of the phase shift moves higher in frequency and will shift back down as your notes decay or as you play quieter. Pressing the tap switch will invert the phasing motion, so it will move down as you get louder instead. Use the attack and release controls to change how closely the phase shift follows the envelope. With the attack and release at their shortest settings, the phase shift will follow the envelope almost exactly. Next, we have one of my favorite submodes. In this submode, the speed of the phasing effect increases as your playing gets louder, but the center of the phaser sweep also increases at the same time. The result is super musical and works really well as a subtle effect to add some life to your playing. Same as the last submode, hitting the tap switch will reverse the changes, so it will get slower and lower as your playing gets louder. The next 2 modes are basically the same. They just use a different waveform. In both submodes, the speed of the phaser effect follows the volume envelope on the input of the phaser. It speeds up as you get louder. This mode uses a sine wave with the width set at 50%. Pressing the tap switch will make the speed slow down as you get louder. Very similar to submode 3, this submode will adjust the speed of the phaser to match the volume envelope, only this time the waveform will be a square wave that randomly jumps values. The next set of submodes are the trigger submodes. These modes detect sudden volume spikes in the input signal and use that information to trigger the phaser effect. To trigger properly, you want to adjust the sensitivity knob so it matches your guitar's output and playing style. You'll want the red LED to turn on only when you're playing a loud note. Submode 5 is the audio sweep submode. In this mode, a trigger will sweep the phaser once through its phase cycle. That would be from minimum to maximum and back. The attack and release settings change how fast the pedal sweeps through its phasing range. Pressing the tap switch will switch the direction of the phase sweep. This mode is great for getting auto-wah type sounds. In this submode, when a trigger is detected, the amount of phase is shifted to a new random amount. It sounds similar to waveform 8 in tap and knob modes, but the rate at which the waveform changes is determined by your playing. Submode 7 is the rhythm submode. This submode is pretty extensive, so it gets its own video. Look for it at empresseffects.com. The last auto mode is the direct control submode. This mode lets you control the phase shift directly with the tap switch or an expression pedal. Without an expression pedal plugged into the control port, this mode operates like trigger mode, except that it triggers only when you hit the tap switch. When you press the switch, the phaser will start to sweep up as long as you hold the tap switch down. When you release the switch, the phaser will sweep back down. The attack and release control set how fast this sweep happens. With an expression pedal plugged into the control port, this submode lets you control the phase shift directly with the expression pedal. You can use this like you would use a wah pedal, but the sound will be slightly different from a wah.